Welcome back there. Sorry, we had a little technical difficulty, but Kevin Syracuse, Lance Nelson here for day two with Built-in Buffalo's live draft coverage. Kevin, anything shocking here as we were off? Mike Green finally came off the board. Jack Beck to the Raiders. So, what do you see there from Trey Harris? So another wide receiver goes to the Chargers. A couple of things coming up, couple of guys coming off the board there as we were dealing with our technical difficulty, but still a lot of good players left for the Bills at 72 here.
Yeah, I think we left off on Oladejo going to Tennessee at 52. And then Benjamin Morrison, the cornerback from Notre Dame, went to Tampa at 53. As you mentioned, Trey Harris went to the Chargers at 55. A couple of linemen to Chicago and Detroit, also to Green Bay. So really the NFC North was kind of stacking up there with their offensive linemen. And then, yeah, Jack Beck to, I was going to say TCU, but he went to the Raiders from TCU, and now we are waiting on the Ravens pick. Who's this to announce a pick?
So it's funny because the PFF draft tracker has a lot more picks up there than what ESPN and NFL are showing on their board here. So I gave away a couple of picks already that have not yet been announced on the live. I apologize. I didn't realize PFF was ahead of the streams.
So where are you right now? Because right now I still don't know who Baltimore has selected.
Right on ESPN, Baltimore has not picked yet. And I didn't realize that's about to come in here.
Okay. Well, even on live TV right now, they're still at the podium.
Right. But on PFF's draft tracker, they've already announced Washington's pick at this point.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Mike Green.
Mike Green. Man, that is just such a Baltimore pick. Wow. How does Mike Green fall to Baltimore?
That's a tumble, but he ends up in a really good spot.
Man. Hey, all this to add they're stocking up on their defensive players once again just to fall flat to Josh Allen.
Yeah, you can try to get as many guys there to stop him as you'd like, but it's not going to work. And it's a lot of, shout out to that offensive line too. That certainly helps them.
I mean, those are two classic Ravens picks right there.
All right. Yeah, it's so weird. Yeah, I can't believe that PFF's draft tracker is going to be that far ahead.
Yeah, what the heck?
Of your, because you're on live TV, you said, right? And
yeah,
just showing Mike Green highlights right now.
The pick is in for the Broncos right now at pick 60.
Yeah, welcome back in, everyone. We had to create a new stream here. The last one ended prematurely. Didn't mean that. And thanks for those of you rejoining. Please like and share this. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're not on YouTube or Facebook, please head to YouTube or Facebook and check us out, because then you can comment and we can interact with you live here. This draft show is very much more fun when we're interacting with everyone in the comments. So please, shout out to shoot your comments into us and your reaction. TJ Sanders trade up from 56 to 41, giving up 62 and 109, moving back to 72, and also adding a 7th round pick. Looks like they're going to announce the Broncos pick pretty quick here, being running back. But they haven't announced it. I'll let that happen. Yeah, crazy. So already announced on PFF draft record up to Chicago's pick here. So flying through the second round here, about to come to an end in a few, and then the Bills will pick pretty quickly into the 3rd round.
RJ Harvey is a guy running back from UCF going to Denver. They really needed a running back, so good pick for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, let's talk about the Bills now. I'm thinking edge rusher is definitely in play here. Landon Jackson is still on the board. Would Brandon Bean try to trade up again if he does, in fact, like Landon Jackson?
Absolutely, yeah. If he can find a, it takes two to tango, right? So if he can find the right guy, Bean's gonna go get him.
Yeah, so now the pick is in for Washington on my screen here.
Yep. I mean, I've already seen it, but it looks like they haven't announced it fully on the show yet.
They are walking out now to do so. '61st pick, the Commanders select. Okay, come on, get to the pick here. Oh, Trey Amos. Amos. However you say it, he falls all the way to 61. What a pickup for the Commanders.
All right, who's available at wide receiver? Io Manor from Stanford be a nice pick at 72 if he's available there.
Ty
Kyle
Felton?
Williams is still there. Jalen Royal's still there. Restrepo if you want him, or Jalen Noel from Iowa State. So those are 5 receivers that may be in range for the Bills' radar. I really like the idea of taking the edge, like you mentioned. You have Landon Jackson, Braden Swinson. I like Jared Ivey over his college teammate there, Princely Umen Milan. Um, Josiah Stewart there you mentioned as well. So those are a couple edge rusher things, and then you have safety to look at. So Xavier Watts, I think, is in play for Buffalo. Andrew Makuba out of Texas. Those two guys would be two I'd be looking at if the Bills want to add a safety to the roster.
Yeah, Xavier Watts. That's a good reminder right there, because the fact that he's fallen this far, he's got to be on the Bills board, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, Chris Paul Jr., linebacker. Brandon Bean loves his third round linebacker, so don't
Oh,
rule out a
well,
Chris Paul
I
Jr.
mean,
pick here.
maybe with what they did to Milano's contract, that could be in play. I just want to draft Sean Dolak tomorrow, and I'll be happy. So I feel like that would be a wasted pick to get a linebacker right here when they still need an edge rusher. If they were to draft a linebacker over, let's just say, Landon Jackson, that's some serious. I don't even know what the word is, but I'm not doing that.
Right on. And Dolak would, for me, be best suited if we can get him as a UDFA. But if we have to draft him to get him, I just would love to actually get him in Buffalo. I think it's a perfect fit, and kind of keep guys close to where they play college ball.
Yeah, I mean, now they have pick 240, so that definitely helps. So
Right. True. Yeah. Could do that.
if we go back to the trade details, so the Bills traded picks 56, 62, and 109 for 41, 72, and 240. Honestly, that might not be as bad as I thought. Actually, I think it's pretty good value. And Kevin Masseri said that the Bills got 721 points, the Bears got 700 points. So it was good value for the Bills after all. That might be on that Eichelberger scale, or whatever that scale is.
Mhm.
But there is that scale that you can compute these and see how many points earned these teams got here. So I think it was a pretty good trade, considering that they were able to move up. They got their third round pick, and they still got a seventh round pick out of it. But you lose that other second round pick and the fourth round pick as well. But I think it was pretty even, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I again, I didn't hate it. The roster, the way I was thinking about it as we took a break there and we're trying to get back on, this roster, the way it's constructed, doesn't need you to take any one position. I know that there's yearning for this and that, but if they have a big need for something, that the draft is not where they're going to address it. They're going to try to get the best football players in the building through the draft. And they identified obviously TJ Sanders as one of those guys that fits their philosophy on defense with versatility and everything that they're looking for in the defensive lineman. So the beauty of the Bills roster is there's not many holes. And look, yes, we need to plan for the future, and we're going to do that. And we have more picks to do that with. So you got to get the top end guys at the top of the draft, and then you'll fill out some other guys that hopefully can make a practice squad here throughout the rest of the draft and things like that. But Christian Benford even being a sixth round pick, you're still going to get some guys that can ball here in the later rounds. So there's no reason to fret that they, like you said, they could still add the big body D tackle here in the fifth, sixth round, no problem. So really interesting to see. It's just best player available right now. And that's what makes me think like could be a linebacker here in the third round at 72, could be a safety, could be a wide receiver for all we know. If that kid from Stanford falls to them in the third round, I think he'd be a pretty good pick. Uh, I'm a little bit biased because I watched him torture Syracuse in one game where he kind of took over the game, and then Syracuse Orange lost in the dome to Stanford there. So um, yeah, overall, I like the strategy so far. I think the Bills don't need to reach at this point in the draft for any one thing. They can still a lot of players left to address like the D tackle, one tech, and things like that.
Yeah, so as more time falls here, as more teams come off the clock, Xavier Watts is definitely in the Bills' window here. So I'm wondering if he will in fact fall to 72 because I mean this is a guy that was projected to go early in round 2 and now here we are. What is this? What's the
Jamar
last pick of
Turner
this?
goes defensive tackle to the Bears.
Ooh, that's a good pick for them. That's a very good pick. But anyways, we're at the end of the second now, right?
hmm
I got the
You
wrong
you
tab
got the
pulled up here.
Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles up right now. Chiefs picks is already shown on the draft tracker, but I'm not going to say it till it's announced. Um,
Oh, right, because Chicago has Buffalo's pick, or they
right.
did. So that's
Yep.
how they got Shamar Turner. So yeah, 2 picks left in the second round, then we're on to round 3. So the fact that Xavier Watts is at the moment falling into round 3, maybe that's a red flag. But if he checks out medically, I'm taking him if he's there at
Yeah.
72. Him, Andrew Makuba, or maybe is the edge rusher from Boston College still available as a
No, he
Rocket?
got taken.
When
He's
was
been
he
taken
taken?
early.
Oh, Dallas took him. That's
He's
right.
Dallas, yeah.
And then the one from
Um,
Ohio State was right after.
Yeah. Ozzie Trapilo from Boston College, a tackle, was taken with the Bills pick at 56. And then 62, Shamar Turner from Texas A&M gets taken. So those are the two picks that Chicago gets from the Bills. We'll see 109 from them coming up as well. And the Bills obviously get TJ Sanders and a player at 72 to be determined. And then we'll talk about the seventh rounder at 240 later. But so far, TJ Sanders for a tackle from Boston College and Shamar Turner, defensive lineman, Texas A&M. So um, I don't think it's that bad. Like you mentioned, the value definitely is there.
What do you think about Kevin Winston Jr. from Penn State? Because ESPN has him ranked ahead of Xavier Watts. Now he's coming off some injuries. He's got good size though, 6'2", 215. Um, he's an aggressive downhill run defender who chases with great effort. So, I mean, that could be a pick, but I think Xavier Watts is more that ball hawk, and I think that's what the Bills could
Yeah,
use in this defense.
yeah. I'd like to see the guy that can play more free safety, play more. Cover. I think Bishop and um, Rap can both play in the box pretty well, and so adding another guy that's like a downhill thumper that you mentioned about Winston doesn't make a ton of sense to me. When you need a guy to be your center fielder more than anything, kind of that fill that Micah Hyde role. So we'll
And
see. I
if
don't I
we've
don't think
learned
that's ruling out
anything,
that Bishop can do that at some point in his career, but it doesn't seem like he's was able to last year, let's say.
and if we've learned anything from these first couple of picks here, they're not going for size. Like, yeah, they might go for athleticism and traits, but they're not going to take a guy that is 10 to 20 pounds heavier than maybe someone who is more athletic and has more versatility. So I think that's why they'd probably favor Xavier Watts over Kevin Winston in this case.
Right. Once again, until the draft picks announced on the show, the stream, I know you can get it on Twitter, you can get it other draft trackers, but try not to throw it in the comments here. We're going to announce them and react to them as they come in. So.
I
Yeah,
love
so with the
reading
way the
every.
draft board went, do you still think that a guy like TJ Sanders could have been had at 56? Let's see who else was taken between those picks. You had Ladejo at 52, Scourton 51. Uh, Teams like that, if they took defensive line, could be looking there. Otherwise, uh, you know, uh, Edge Tumalao to Colts there. Ezraku to the Cowboys, and then obviously Alfred Collins. I think that the biggest thing is potentially the Bills jumping San Francisco there for TJ Sanders is really most likely the move there. Maybe
Yeah, I wonder if they would have
maybe
gone
Alfred
that route.
Collins would have been there to Buffalo at 56, but maybe he also would have been gone. And if both of them are gone, um, you know, not sure what they're looking at there for, their picks at 56 and 62.
I'm trying to look up Xavier Watts right now and see if we can read up anything about him to see if there's any news because I don't know
I
why
heard he's
he's falling.
electric.
He's what?
Electric.
Yep. But yeah, just to answer your question, I don't know. It's very interesting to think about. We could do this for how many drafts and say, oh, what would have happened here if we
Sure.
selected this player and just mix and match. I guess we'll never know. But considering how it went, I'm wondering if that was San Fran's guy right along, because the Bills clearly had a stereotype or a prototype. I don't know if the 49ers totally would have changed their direction and said, we're going to take a run stuffer, right? Alfred Collins. So he's more of that run stuffer, 330 pounds, not as athletic or explosive. So if they were to go jump from one to the other, like that's a stark contrast. So it almost makes me feel like that's what San Fran was looking for right from the start. And that's what Buffalo was looking for. But it is interesting that they jumped San Fran, presumably to try to get Sanders ahead of them.
Yeah, it's your best guess, right? So that's all you can do is guess at this point what would have been, could have been. So again, the versatility, it's the best player, getting the best football player onto the roster, and you figure it out then. I called Terrell Bernard a wasted pick in the third round years ago, and now look at him. So I'm not going to do that again here with a guy like TJ Sanders. Redundancy is good in this team. They want guys to rotate and do a lot of things.
All right, so the Eagles are picking here.
Yeah, you're not going to like this one, dude.
Is it
So
Makuba?
there's Makufa comes off the
Wow.
board to Philadelphia here.
Oh my God, that's such a good pick for Philly. Like
It is,
he
yeah.
is such a perfect fit for that defense. Oh my God. Ball skills, excellent angles, inconsistent tackler. I mean, honestly, that's kind of Maxwell Harrison, right? So maybe you didn't want to be redundant, excuse me, in that form. But man, I think this is a great pick for Philly.
Yeah. So we're into the third round now. The Bills will pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th here in the in the third round, and we'll see who's left for them. Right now, again, Elick Iamanor, wide receiver, Stanford, Xavier Watts, Landon Jackson, Braden Swinson, Princely Uman Milan. What else do you have here? Jalen Royals, Jared Ivey, Kyle Williams. Do they double dip at corner? They got like Azare Thomas is there from Florida State. I don't know if they'd be looking at a double dip here, 6'2", 200 pounds, basically from the Florida State CB. Um, who's the other guy I was thinking here? Oh, Makuba already came off. So yeah, I don't know. They could really shock us here and just go Jordan Phillips, the other Jordan Phillips, and double dip at D tackle.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I'm talking about Xavier Watts here, they really need an edge rusher more than a safety right now. So
Mm-hmm.
to your points, I mean, if Landon Jackson's still there, that might have to be the pick, or Josiah Stewart, Jordan Birch. So they can go some different routes here.
Yeah. I like the idea of Jared Ivey just because he's already got that frame built out. So yeah, he's 20 over 23 now and 6'6", 285 for Jared Ivey. And I think that size and strength, his draft profile mentions versatility, and so physically gifted, also versatility. So they say he could be a 4-3 D end, but more likely in a 3-4 front. We'll see what the Bills decide here.
Yeah, we're getting closer and closer. The Giants are making their selection now. Okay, so if it came down to Landon Jackson and Xavier Watts, who's your pick?
Probably Landon Jackson, I think, would be the pick.
Yeah, I might have to too. Man, I I was saying that was a no-brainer for Watts, but maybe that was overstating it a little bit.
I do like Watts. I think we talked about him on the Triple Coverage podcast when we did the defensive backs as well. One of the guys I brought up, and I think that I wouldn't be mad at it. I think that if you're talking about those two positions, though, I want to get the premium position in edge there first, and then look at safeties after that. There's a couple other safeties I was looking at pre-draft here. Jonas Sanker from Virginia being one of those guys, and there's a handful others there that you can talk about. Maybe Malachi Moore from Alabama, something like that. So you can, um, you still can get guys that can play. Malachi Moore is a guy that's played under Nick Saban, obviously, uh, 2 years ago when Saban was still in Alabama, and just was a really smart player for them. So that's a guy later in the draft. If you want a free safety, you can still look after to get him. And then edge rushers are going to start tailing off here very quickly as far as we know their size, their talent, and things like that.
All right, so what do we think the Giants do here? Oh, well, you probably
I
know.
already saw it. Sorry. I'll try not to look again. I was looking at
Oh,
the available players and the PFF thing profiles on them, but their draft tracker caught me a little bit. So yeah, Darius Alexander, right? Toledo
yep.
defensive tackle. So somebody was mentioning to grab him earlier. He ends up going the first pick of the third round here for Darius Alexander out of Toledo.
Yeah, it's a great pick for them. Man, they're really building their defensive line.
Yeah, I mean, are you feeling that the Bills could double dip at corner? I mean, look, there's
Siobhan Revel?
there's a lot of good corner, guys that we were talking about getting at 56 or 62 still on the board. Let's see.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, they
Rebels
could,
there,
but
Porter's there, Thomas
yeah,
is
Darian
there, but
Porter. That's right.
you know,
Hmm. Yeah, That makes you think, but I just don't know if they're going to want to put that capital in, considering that they already spent that high capital last night on a corner. And to our points, edge rusher is a bigger need right now.
Right.
All right, let's see what the Chiefs do.
What's going on, Iz? How you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm all right, a little tired, but here I am.
Yeah, late night last night, huh?
Late
Ashton,
night.
how do you say that there, Kevin? Did you get the name pronciation?
I just missed it. Let's see.
Gelati, I think they said.
Yeah, something like that with Louisville. Edge rusher.
Yeah, solid pick.
I didn't see the trade that got Kansas City to 66. Did you see that at all, Iz or Kevin?
No, I was helping the wife out.
No, as I said, between conversing with you, keeping up on Twitter and TV, it's already hard enough for me to do two things at once. But when you add that third, I apologize in advance.
Yes, sir. No, I feel you. I was running the ticker last night trying to be helpful to the conversation and still keep an eye on what the heck was going on. So it was definitely a lot here.
Yeah, so if I missed anything that you said, again, I apologize in advance.
Has it just been you two guys the whole night?
Yeah, it's just been
so
us.
far.
Oh, wow. Okay, I figured I'd give people a chance to, call it in the second round and come in the third, but all right.
Well, the pick is in for the Browns.
Uh-oh, picks in for the Browns. Okay. Man, I hope for Shadur's sake they don't take him.
Yeah, Shadur Sanders still being available. Like what?
Apparently his interviews went like real bad, according to the general managers. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna get me some water though. Right.
Oh shoot. Okay, never mind. We're good. Although I did see something, a little spoiler, that if it's true, I might not be happy.
Joshua Farmer.
Joshua Palmer.
Farmer.
Oh.
I'm not saying it's him. I'm saying what if they took him? It might be if you want the double dip.
Okay.
If you want the double dip,
I'm thinking we double dip tomorrow with more of that classic one tech, but clearly they don't like one techs that much. So we don't need another three tech right now. I didn't think we needed one before we drafted TJ Sanders. Now we really don't need one. So
well, I
if
think
they do,
he can play both.
Farmer, yeah, he can.
No. Sanders. They said that he said he could get up to about 310 and play one tech if need be.
Oh, true. But I'm just saying, like, if we double dip, I feel like he has to come in at least weighing 325 to start.
That's a lot. Star was only like 310.
Who's that?
Star Lotalele? He was only about 310.
Was he? I thought he was about 320.
Oh no, he was light. He looked big, but
Someone's saying Jack Sawyer. Would you guys be interested in Jack Sawyer?
In the third round, sure. I think that's about right. But he's got great leadership. But physical talent wise, I have him on like an AJ Epinesa level.
Okay. Nice. L'Jarius Sneed trade from the Chiefs to the Bears netted them that 66th pick.
Wait, L'Jarius Sneed got traded?
Last year.
Oh,
last
year?
Yeah,
I was going to say he's with the Titans.
Right, yeah, they traded. That's right. I said Bears, didn't I? Titans and Chiefs trade from a year ago netted KC this pick here at 66, where they took Ashton Gelati. So Browns on the clock now. Did they draft a quarterback yet? Do they think they're going to? Can they get Sanders at 67?
This has to, like, if they're going to get Sanders, it has to be here, right?
Yeah, because the Steelers do draft this round. They didn't draft last round. Otherwise, I think the Steelers would have took him in the second. But
okay, honestly, if they can stay put and get Shadur
the Jets
Sanders
are still there too. I think the Jets for Sanders at 73 could be an option there.
I think the Steelers might trade up for him at that point.
This could be a great draft for Cleveland, considering they got Mason Graham. They added that first-round pick next year. They got Swessinger, the linebacker from UCLA, and then they got the running back from Ohio State. If they get Sanders here, I mean, that's a really good job by Andrew Berry.
Did they get Judkins right?
Yeah.
And Swessinger, I really liked. After I saw his tape and I read up on him a little bit, I really like that kid. That's a good ass
And
pick.
just give me Sean Dolak.
Harold Fannin Jr., a tight end of the Browns. That'll move the needle.
What?
Harold Fannin Jr.
They take a tight end from Bowling Green? So they
Apparently
clearly don't want Sanders.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious now.
Who's their quarterback? Flacco and Kenny Pickett?
Kenny Pickett, yep.
Very unfortunate name for a quarterback.
Say it again?
Very unfortunate name for a quarterback.
Yeah. Or maybe they'll trade for Kirk Cousins.
Well, the Raiders are next.
Yeah, they could throw a wrench into plans.
Yep.
So after this Raiders pick, we're really going to have to hone in on pick 72 for the Bills.
72?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that
because we're coming up.
I'm kind of in on the Ivy idea. I just like his size right out of college. He's a little bit older though, 23, but I really like Ivy's size at edge rusher at 72. But like I said, Landon Jackson would be good if he's still there. Watts is still on the board, I believe, right? So,
yep.
What about Princely, even Malin? Is he still on the board?
He's still there. Yep.
I like him too.
Yeah, he's 6'4", 255, and Ivy is 285, and I just like that added. Already has that frame, 6'6", 285 from Ivy. I just can't teach that sort of thing. So
yeah. Mike Green went to the
Raiders. All right, Raiders selection here.
Oh wow, the Commanders got Trey Amos.
Yep.
Jeez.
Yeah, I don't know how he fell all the way to 61.
Oh,
there you go. Another cornerback.
Oh,
guys, we got Maxwell Harrison. It's okay. We got Maxwell Harrison.
I did love this kid though too.
I know he was like my draft crush.
Yeah, him and Higgins were my two guys. Iowa State, I was like, dude, I'm not a Cyclone fan, but the Iowa State boys are really, really good.
All right, so you got the Patriots, Jaguars, and Saints ahead of the Bills here. Man,
the Patriots taking so far.
I get, or if we have to say one, or let's try to give one prediction here. I've made a couple different guesses or just areas of where they're going to go. But I mean, what do you think? At least give at least a position, if not a player name. And dude, I can't help but to think this is Chris Paul Jr. territory for the Bills here
Chris
in the
Paul
third round.
Jr.
I
over Landon
wouldn't
Jackson?
love it, but I just think that's, man, they just seem to do that sort of thing.
So they've taken a wide receiver, they've taken running back, they've taken a tackle. They could use a guard here or center. They need offensive line help like it's nobody's business, and they've only taken one.
Wait, who are we talking about here?
Patriots.
I say you're not talking about the Bills, right?
No.
Yeah, Patriots.
Okay. Our O-line's nasty. We can roll with the same exact O-line we ran with last time.
Yeah, Patriots seem like they're destined for a wide receiver here.
Yeah, every offensive lineman that comes off the board is a positive sign for me. That means that the other talent's getting pushed towards us.
Yep.
Quarterbacks, offensive linemen, corners now.
I don't know who's on the screen right now. I can't see him.
And his name is John Cena.
Yeah, it is John Cena.
Yeah.
That's why I said I can't see him. Get it? You can't see me? Yeah. I'm pretty funny.
John Felix Anthony Cena.
17 time.
Uh-oh.
Got a run on do we have a run on skill players coming here?
Hey, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I got something for you. Could the Bills try to get that 4th round pick back, and maybe they trade down here and say, you know what, there's still a lot of players that we like. We can't decide between Landon Jackson or Xavier Watts, or maybe even a Josiah Stewart or Jordan Birch. So maybe we just trade back 10 spots, maybe get
That might be too many.
Kyle Williams to New England. So maybe they trade back a few spots in the 3rd, and then they can accumulate another 4th as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that Brandon Beane has made a 3rd round pick. Saw something that he's made a 3rd round pick every year, but he's not made a 4th round pick many different times. So
yeah.
I would say that he's more apt to not make a 4th rounder than not make a 3rd rounder. I think he's going to make that 3rd rounder.
Yeah, he's in 7 drafts. He's only taken a 4th round pick 3 times.
Say that again, Izzy?
In 7 years as GM of the Buffalo Bills, Brandon Beane has only taken a 4th round pick 3 times.
Wow.
So 3 out of 7.
And he has never drafted a wide receiver in round 1.
True.
That's crazy. The last time they drafted aside from Keon Coleman, I think the highest wide receiver before Coleman was Zay Jones.
With Beane, that was Doug Whaley, I think. But
just like in the McBean era, yeah.
Lee Evans was the last 1st round receiver I can remember, or Sammy Watkins. I love me some Lee Evans. That's my dude.
I know. He was my favorite growing up.
I met him and his son at Bills versus Redskins in Washington. It's pretty awesome.
Nice. He's my first ever Bills jersey.
Mine was Eric Moles.
Nice.
Uh-oh.
Now, I feel like, could the Lions take Xavier Watts or Landon Jackson here?
They could. But they did take a safety already, I believe.
Let's see.
Wow.
Okay.
Tisla from Arkansas.
Yep. Wide receiver Isaac Tesla. Yep. However you pronounce it, but
I think it's Tesla.
Xavier Watts and Landon Jackson still there.
Yeah, really.
He might go by Tesla, so no one sets him on fire.
Gonna go 4 wide here as the Bills are about to pick. As our guy Anthony Romeo is jumping in with us here.
Hey,
welcome to the show, Anthony.
What's up, everybody?
Show him the guns, Ant.
We got all the guys on. Everyone showed up for the 3rd round pick here, Kevin. So it looks like we carried it through the 3rd round, through the 2nd round there, and some reinforcements here. We've been talking for a couple hours here, guys. How Romeo? How you feeling? What do you think? I said could be Chris Paul Jr. territory. Kevin likes Landon Jackson here. We like Watts here as well. Where do you think the Bills go? Could they go wide receiver too? They got that kid from Stanford on the boards that torched the Syracuse Orange in the Dome this past season in college. We'll see if that's something that the Bills are interested in.
Oronde Gadsden Jr.
Yeah, I said last night the 2 positions I wanted were defensive tackle and edge. Obviously, we checked the box for defensive tackle, and let's keep it moving, right? So I would love to draft an edge here, and then maybe we can consider a wide receiver.
Right.
In whatever spot the Bills pick next tomorrow.
Got a name you're looking at?
Likely. There's the thing about this draft, the way it has gone, is whoever we think they're going to be on their list is not who they end up picking, right? In both the cornerback position and the defensive tackle position, that was the case. The edge players I had on my board for the Bills were Landon Jackson, so I that would be. And then, so now the others are gone. Coming into today, it was early edge. A lot of those guys that were left on the board, the edge players went early, right? Which was expected because a few of them I had going in the 1st round. So not too surprising there. But, I'd say best fit edge on the board. So let's take a look at let me take a look at the list of best available edge still there and see if there's a name deeper that I hadn't considered yet that might actually be the
best
pick.
available right now. Overall, you have safety Kevin Winston Jr. You got wide receiver Elik Ayamana from Stanford. You got Xavier Watts. Then you have Landon Jackson, Siobhan Ravel, Shadur Sanders, Braden Swinson, Princely Human Milan.
I like him.
And the next guy down is Jared Ivey, his teammate. Jalen Royals in there. And then you got some other DBs. Josiah Stewart is on the board too, which Kevin mentioned, a good name to watch for.
Actually, I mocked Josiah Stewart to the Bills when I did my final mock. I mocked him at 99, considering that the Bills would trade back into the third round. So technically, they did get that third round pick back, so they could take Stewart here. But with Landon Jackson being on the board, I know he's been a big favorite for the Bills. They've met with him, and I've seen a lot of people have been talking about Jackson ever since, February. I mean, really going back to the end of the college football season. But with Xavier Watts being on the board, that makes me question it too, because is he the best player available right now? Because we know how the Bills like to go with that motto. Now, Bean said the other day, it's basically best available based on team need. So then it comes down to what's more of a need right now, defensive end or safety. I got to go defensive end. So as much as I want Watts, I think if you have a plethora of defensive ends and edge rushers, you might have to take one of them here.
Yeah. What's your stream at? Or you're on live TV, Kev, right? So where are you at? Did the Bills officially on the clock? Did they announce the Saints pick yet?
I'm on a Ford commercial.
NFL has NFL.com has the Saints as pick is in, Bills is on the clock, but Saints pick is not official on NFL.com.
So we're back from commercial. Yeah, the pick is in for the Saints, so we're getting ready for that in the next couple minutes here.
Okay, we'll let you announce it, Kev, when you're since you're on live TV, you're probably the quickest to get it. So go ahead and do the honors for us if you would when you see it.
Do you know who it is yet, Lance?
For the Bills? No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean,
I would say because if you know, you've done a very good job of not showing any emotion.
No, I was trying to wait till you announce it to react. I was trying to stay off of. So again, in the comments, please don't spoil it. Let us announce it here and react to it as it comes in on our feed, and we'd appreciate that.
So we have had a run at receivers, and the last one left that I'm looking at here is possibly Jalen Royals. 6 foot, 205, good size, ran a 4.42.
Yeah, there could be that too.
I think there's some wide receivers in the next couple of rounds that I would still be happy with. I mean, not that Jalen Royals wouldn't be a bad pick here at all. I mean, I wouldn't be mad at it, but I just desperately want to get an edge player. Now, I think that's you've checked the two biggest needs. Without a doubt, for me, the next is edge, and then it's wide receiver to supplement what we've already got, right? So I think picking an edge here is going to be a player who's going to get playing time, right? You're going to get snaps and contribute. So
I can dig it, yeah.
Can you dig it? He can dig it.
And I'll tell you what, with those, I mean, with both the first picks last night when we were live and reacted, every single one of us basically had the same reaction of, oh, okay, that's their guy, right? Because although Harrison was a good pick, not all of us predicted.
I had a feeling it was going to be him, though.
And look at Trey Amos goes of almost a full round later. I mean, literally a full round later, which is crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
The pick is already in for the Bills. They are clapping the Sean McDermott clap. So they got to feel really good about this one. Man, I think it's got to be Landon Jackson here or Xavier
I was going to say, if Sean McDermott is that excited, it's got to be a defensive guy.
Yeah.
It's a wrestler.
So we will
who's a wrestler on the board? Come on, somebody's got to be on the board who's a wrestler.
All right, here we go.
Lee Evans doing his thing.
Nice. One of my favorite underrated Bills players right there.
Landon Jackson. Wow.
There it is.
Let's go. Landon Jackson is a pick for the Buffalo Bills at 72.
I finally get a check mark on one of my lists here.
So the Bills get their edge rusher from Arkansas, Landon Jackson. He's been a fan favorite. He's been a team favorite. The Bills fill another need. Bean goes back into the third round, gets that third round pick back. And honestly, I think
Love it.
we've had a very, very solid draft so far.
Exactly the order I wanted it in, exactly the order I predicted it in. So I'm pretty excited about that. And yeah, again, you talk about where do we need the contributions? Where do we need to have guys that fit what and improve this team that was right on the edge of making the Super Bowl? All three of these picks to me are huge in that it factors in that, right? Obviously, they have to pan out to some extent, but without a doubt, you've upgraded three of your weakest positions for the long term at this point. And that, to me, that's already a good draft. Again, whether or not they actually hit and whether or not somebody turns into a bust does not matter right now in this moment, because it's three positions, three upgraded without a doubt. To me, that means wide receiver might be the next position you're looking at. Obviously, there's options at linebacker or wherever else as well. But yeah, this is a very exciting draft. Exactly what I wanted to happen. Not the exact guys for sure, but Landon Jackson was. Woohoo! I got one out of three, so I'll take that. But yeah, love this pick. Love the fit. Obviously, he was one of the guys who talked to the Bills a lot and was mocked a lot going to Buffalo. So glad to see that one come to fruition, because for the most part, Bean has kept his desires under wraps, with those first two picks especially.
Yeah, no, really love Landon Jackson, 9.78 RAS here. Another big body guy. So I guess in the same mold of where I was saying I really liked Ivy, this guy here, 6'7", 280 pounds. So just, a real
Beast.
full dude right now already, and still really young. So like that pick a lot. Definitely one of the guys, and whenever you talked
How
about the
old is he?
Bills,
You said he's young.
22, he's going to be 23 towards the middle of the season
Yeah,
or end of
it's
the
so
season,
weird
I
to
guess
call
would
that
be.
young. That's like normal, but it's young right now because
Right,
there's some guys who are 26 with this COVID, season still having an
right,
effect.
yeah. Let's see here.
Also, the Jets took AZ Thomas.
Yeah, I
Is that
see
who
that.
we're showing?
Mhm.
I was trying to see
Yeah.
some Landon Jackson highlights, but
I know, but they went right to the next one on my.
But just to reiterate, I cannot believe that Landon Jackson was still there, because when I was going through my mock draft simulations, he was getting selected 35, 40, 45. So I figured he was going to be a top 50 pick. And the
Yeah.
fact that the Bills not only traded up, they also got that third round pick back, and they get Landon Jackson at 72. Bravo. Bravo. Bravo.
Yeah,
I will
very
say,
well
though,
done.
I will say, as happy as I am about the overall landscape of the Bills draft so far, it still does concern me a little bit that they did get an undersized defensive tackle, but clearly they have a prototype, and it doesn't match what ours is or what mine was, because I would have went with the big space heater.
You got to
So
take
they
it
go with
easy on saying undersized, though. I mean, 6'3", 6'4", 290 pounds almost, 285 if you want to
he
split the
would
difference.
still beat me
Like
to a
still
pulp if it came
a
to
giant man. And look, like I said, there's room, both for him and Jalen Carter if they need to add more weight to eat more space. There's room for those guys. They're young, and the
Sure.
dietitians and the weight room and those kind of folks can still
Well, yeah,
can
it's
still
clear.
make
It's
an impact on their
it's
body.
clear that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott have the full confidence in their staff, their training staff, their cooking staff too, if you will, because even with the cornerback pick in the first round, you picked an undersized guy, right, or a smaller guy, speedy. So you don't want him to gain too much weight. You don't want him to be a bulky, tough guy. But so that's a position where you could give a little more versus defensive tackle. Still, he's a penetration type defensive tackle, right? So you're talking about getting to the quarterback, and that leanness works in his favor. Now, does he need to add weight to compete with the big offensive linemen to get through? Probably, I'd say so. But I was more confident with that pick than even cornerback in the first round. So, but the Landon Jackson, to me, this was the perfect match for the Bills defense and what they need out of a guy. And yeah, I'm excited to see them onboard him this year, and then hopefully be an answer long term moving forward.
Yeah, so
And
3
I have
additions to the
some
Bills
more about.
roster.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead, man.
Lance. Well, I was going to say I have the scouting report on Landon Jackson. So he only had 6.5 sacks last year, but that did lead the team. He was second team all SEC. He was tied for the team lead with 9.5 tackles for loss, and he started 12 games, recorded 49 tackles, and had 3 pass breakups. He also had a forced fumble and a block kick. So the overview of him, and this is from Lance Zierlein again, high energy edge prospect. So there you go, right there. Even though he might not have the production, he doesn't jump off the charts like Mike Green with 17 sacks. He has high energy, and he's high energy edge prospect with projectable traits, but unorthodox movements and body control that might create a lack of conviction when it's time to stamp a grade. Jackson added muscle mass to his leggy frame, but a lack of bend hinders his anchor and contact balance against force. He's long and urgent and fighting his way past the man in front of him. He'll never be a natural edge bender, but he plays with connected hands and feet that should allow him to develop more impactful rush counters. It will look gawky at times, but Jackson seems to be growing into his frame and possesses the traits and motor to make it as a future starter on the edge. So, I mean, if that's more of a developmental piece, I'm okay with it because you have Michael Hoyt and Joey Bosa in the meantime.
Yeah, so it's defensive end, edge rushers. You have Rousseau, Epinesa, Javon Solomon, Michael Hoyt, Joey Bosa, and Landon Jackson now.
Solid.
And then Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, Larry Ogunjobi, Dwayne Carter, Zion Logue, and TJ Sanders on the interior of that defensive line. Linebackers haven't changed. Milano, Bernard, Williams, Yolofosho, Joe Andreessen, Balin Spector. Defensive backs, Christian Benford, Teron Johnson, Dane Jackson, Jamarcus Ingram, Brandon Codrington, DeQuan Hardy, Corey Couch, Trey White, Maxwell Hairston. Safeties, you got Rapp, Cam Lewis, Cole Bishop, DeMar Hamlin, and Derek Forrest. So, again, this roster is pretty complete, and you're just adding more to it. It doesn't, yes, I agree. We need maybe that big space eater that you want at D tackle, and I think that could come with the next pick. We can get another young wide receiver to develop in here if you want. That can come with the next pick, but it's like whatever they're picking now is just luxury. You want to throw a running back in the room just for giggles. I mean, what else are you going to get? You can probably get another defensive back here, probably get another linebacker in here if you want. But really a solid first 3 rounds addressing, like you mentioned, Anthony, addressing those needs, kind of corner, defensive tackle, and edge. Although there's still a few areas where they can add and have the ability to develop guys. This year, and I know he could get injured, but this year Daquan Jones is going to be your big one-tech defensive tackle, right? So you have a guy right now, and I know like if he gets hurt, you don't have much, but that's why there's free agency and things like that. But you should ideally look to add a guy here to get in the pipeline and start developing that role.
Heck yeah.
Love it. Love what the
49ers
Bills did here.
coming
I
out
will
to make
say
the
too, that
selection.
comment you put up about the trade, I agreed with that full-heartedly, because when the Bills first made that trade to go up for the defensive tackle, I wasn't very excited. I was kind of like, ooh, they gave up both picks, and that seems like too much. I know they wanted to get back in the third, but that seems like, I would have liked to have those 2 second-round picks. But if you would have told me we got Landon Jackson with one of those other 2 picks, I would have been happy with it. So the fact that you still get him with the trade makes it all worthwhile in my mind. So huge. Brandon Beane just worked the right buttons, knew exactly what he was doing there.
Do you think that maybe he was a little desperate there for that DT? He was like, hang on, like
I think he knew because 2 picks later, Collins went, right? So I think he knew they said, this is our guy, and we know that there's teams that are going to be wanting them soon. So I think that's why they traded up where they did. They knew that there was going to be a couple teams looking for defensive tackle, either to trade back up for them or, just 2 picks later. So, yeah.
Just get ahead of it all and say the hell with it.
Exactly.
Take our chances. With
this is our guy. We got him. Yeah. Yeah.
Because with that many defensive ends on the board still that we could all just sit here and name, which really is indicative of the depth of this class at defensive end.
Mm-hmm.
Going up and getting your DT if you really felt you needed him, and he can bulk up. He is 390 or 297 pounds, so he's a little undersized, like Kevin said, but he can put on a little weight. He had mentioned he can get up to about 310 and be comfortable, so that's good news because that's about the size of our one text that we run here with Daquan Jones, about 315. Starlo Lele was about 312. So he's already, he can get up to the size that we need him to get to, and be rotational. But I think right now the Brandon Beane has done a very good job with the capital he's been given. And watching the interviews, I'm starting to love Hairston, man. He's
Oh yeah, he's a great kid. Great kid. You can't go wrong. I mean, and his play tape is really good. I mean, you're splitting hairs when you're talking about who's the better scheme fit. That's why some of us wanted Trey Amos, but the guy his tape is good, and his leadership skills, and all you have to do. I used to say this for years on the podcast on the Hoof is watch guys' interviews, and I can tell you who the Bills are interested in, right? Because McDermott and Beane love high character guys. They fall in love with leadership and off the field and all of that. And these guys have it. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Siobhan Revel came off the board there.
Yep, to Cowboys. Yep.
There you go.
Oh, nice, so they have Revel and Kyer Elam now.
Oh, speaking of Kyer Elam, though, I did want to make a point about what Beane is doing in this draft that I think counters what we can knock Beane for the bad pick, quote unquote, of Kyer Elam. And when we look back on that, what do we know about that pick? Well, 5 cornerbacks went ahead of him in the draft, and Kyer Elam was not the guy that the Bills wanted, right? We know who the guy that the Bills wanted was, and the Chiefs got him, and that really sucked. But the Bills did not get their guy. In this draft, there is no argument. There is no, we wanted that guy, but we got stuck with this guy. No, you picked your guy. You got your guy at cornerback. Yep. You got your guy at defensive tackle. Don't give me some runaround about we wanted somebody else. No, Kenneth Grant was going to be long gone. I never predicted him to the Bills. But in the second round, you had your pick of the litter for defensive tackle, and you got your guy. In the first round, you had the pick for lots of guys at cornerback that you could have gone with. You went with the guy that you thought was your best fit. So Brandon Beane is having his draft right now. And same thing with edge. I mean, obviously they broadcast to the world, the Landon Jackson one, but the other two were not, right? So I think in this draft, there won't be any of that. Kyer Elam, this is a cornerback that they weren't necessarily looking to draft, but it was the biggest position in need, so they had to pick. We filled the positions of need and gotten the guys that Brandon Beane felt were the ones he wanted in the room or the team wanted in the room, because we know McDermott has say that
the picks met the value because Beane said that Hairston, they had a first-round grade on him.
100%.
Clearly, they had a second-round grade on TJ Sanders. And Landon Jackson being there in round 3, I bet a lot of teams had him as a round 2 grade.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in terms of value, in terms of value, I think Beane has done very well. I think it just comes down to the size aspect for me. Now, someone just said this to me on Twitter, and I think it brings up an interesting talking point here.
Okay.
So he says that this was Beane's best pick. I'm paraphrasing because I just want to make sure I can read it. Okay. He says, Landon Jackson, excellent round 3 pick. Not surprised. This is part of the draft where Brandon Beane distinguishes himself. Mm-hmm. So I agree, because I feel like he needs a first round or two to kind of, quote unquote, get the nerves off, because sometimes he can get jumpy, right? Last night he didn't. Maybe tonight he did a little bit, moving 15 spots up, but then he recovers by getting Landon Jackson. Mm-hmm. So we might be sailing from here on out, because I honestly feel, I agree with that tweet. I honestly feel the most comfortable with Beane in rounds 3 through 7, because typically he does the best on late Friday and then Saturday. Not to say that his round 1s and round 2s have been terrible, but he's had some swings and misses more often than not. And even going back to the last couple of years with Elam, say what you want about Kincaid, Keon Coleman, the verdict's still out with them. So same thing could be said about Hairston. Maybe we're going to look back and say he was only 183 pounds at the time. Like he you knew that it was a struggle for him in run support. You knew that he was undersized. You knew that TJ Sanders wasn't that one tech, and he was potentially undersized and a replicate of Ed Oliver. So that's why I'm thinking this might be that sweet spot now for Brandon Beane, which has me excited for tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, you're talking about improvement. When you improve, you don't get worse at the things you did good, right? Before. You get better at the things you weren't so great at. And I would agree that it's the top half of the draft where Beane has necessarily not done as hot as he would like, compared to when you get 6th round guys who end up being long-term pieces. That's an absolute unbelievable job by a general manager. So Beane has definitely hit there. Anything tomorrow is just going to be icing on the cake for me compared to what they've been able to do, today and yesterday as well. But yeah, this was definitely a good day for Brandon Beane. Again, regardless of, something happens 3 years from now and we're all like, oh, that wasn't so great of a pick. Right now, it makes so much sense. And it worked into his favor. He got his guys, and I feel more confident about the success of these picks moving forward because of that. Beane seems more confident about these picks moving forward, and really, again, playing with house money going into tomorrow, meaning they could trade up, they can get somebody if they want. They wait until the
they have
later
all
rounds
the
and
ammo
pick
to
a
move
flyer.
around wherever they want.
Yeah, and or pick a position. 7th round, you want to pick a punter late, you can, right? So there's a lot of wiggle room there to still improve this team.
So they got 1 pick in the 4th, 3 in the 5th, 2 in the 6th, and 1 in the 7th remaining. So
They
yeah,
still
we'll
have
see. It's
move up ammo.
interesting. I like this comment
Lots of
though.
move
I
up
left
ammo.
it up here from Anthony Padilla.
That's my boy,
Appreciate it,
Anthony.
man. Like, and that's, I try to pride myself in that, and not being one of the doom and gloomers in the Bills fan base. I think that I
That's so
will
bad.
probably get called a homer more often than not because I'm so much more optimistic. And like I said, I'm learning my lessons as I grow here in both content creation, and just being a fan and in life that, like, you're not going to like everything that everyone does. But for me, I especially know that I have my own ideas of what we might like to do, but the guys that are there in the room and everything, they have the vision. And I think that it's been successful to a point, right? I mean, I know that we haven't won the Super Bowl and that's the ultimate goal, but they have been wildly successful. They won a lot of games in the regular season and in the playoffs. Okay. So multiple AFC championship appearances, at least getting to the divisional round most years. And, helps to have Josh Allen at quarterback, but, they know what they're looking for and what they're trying to put on the field here. And that Landon Jackson thing, Peter DiBiase just texted me and mentioned that that's a steal. I think that that's
Yeah.
it gets the pick grades on PFF are average for Hairston, good for TJ Sanders, and very good for Landon Jackson. So if you care about what pick grades are stated there for the Bills on the PFF website, at least, they're getting better as the draft goes on, which is no surprise.
And what I said about Maxwell Hairston yesterday when we did our grades at the end, and I said a B, to be determined though because of the rest of the draft. That B now looks like a B plus in my mind because we got the other positions that I thought we needed to cover, defensive tackle and edge, right away. And we got, again, the trade kind of made me nervous because I knew we were going to end up passing on or missing out on a bunch of the guys that I was targeting there or I was looking into. And now we still get Landon Jackson with one of those picks. So, I mean, that was coming up smelling like roses for me. And it makes the entire grade for this draft better because those guys, yes, there's risk there, but now you're talking about, again, raising the floor of the entire team in a way that benefits everybody. So I like that approach.
Yeah, sounds good. So Brandon Beane has apparently said that they are done for the night for the 3rd round. So if is all good with you guys, I'd prefer to not stick around for the entire 3rd round, but get in what we want to get in here. So Kevin, you kind of started us off here and kind of led us to this live stream here tonight, kind of in the in the early evening hours here as we approached 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and suggested we come on. So I just want to give you the first opportunity, obviously, to get in what more you might want to get in, and then we'll go around here and let everyone make sure they have at least one more time to get in with what we need to before we say goodbye.
Man, Kevin, let's go, Kev.
Okay, yeah. So essentially, do you want to just go around and we'll give our overview of our opinion so far of the draft?
Si, senor.
It's your world, brother.
The general draft or the Bills picks?
Anything I want, go Knicks.
Yeah, go Knicks, baby.
I'm with that.
Let's go.
I felt like such a bad fan last night because they won by 2 points, and I was so infatuated with the draft. I was like,
You couldn't.
oh, shoot, the Knicks are on.
I'm going to be like that tonight with SmackDown, so don't feel bad.
I missed my same game parlay by a couple of rebounds. Karl Anthony Towns
Ooh.
didn't get to 10, and had Towns points. I think the over in the game. OG to hit 2 threes, and then rebounds for Towns, which didn't go. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, give us kind of wrap it up here. See what the so Greg apparently. Greg, I don't even know how to say that name, but apparently does not like this.
That's that
This
fan that
draft.
they were talking about earlier. The one that, just
just trolling
Negative
right there.
Yeah.
Trolling.
We
I mean,
vehemently disagree with that.
exactly.
take,
Even
but,
free agency. You're saying Palmer's not an upgrade over what we got out of Cooper? I
Joey
think that's
frickin'
nonsense
Bosa, come
talk.
on. Yeah.
I mean, Joey Bosa, yeah, like I think that's nonsense talk. Over Von Miller, you wouldn't rather have Joey Bosa than Von Miller. You wouldn't rather have Josh Palmer than what we got from Cooper. I mean, maybe Cooper has more than what he gave us, but I still think those are both blatant upgrades in free agency, not to mention the other pieces they added. But in this draft alone, we've definitely already covered what we think. But yeah,
didn't want to
that's
get you riled
total
up there,
troll
Anthony,
moment.
but yeah, Kevin, let us know, wrap up the 3 rounds here. If you want to go outside the room of Buffalo as well, feel free to give some guys that you think are going to make those teams that drafted them happy, but also just kind of at least put a bow on the first 3 rounds here for the Bills as well.
Okay, yeah. Do you have that ticker so we can put up the trade details once again?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah. So just to recap, the Bills shocked a lot of us tonight by trading up from 56, jumping 15 spots with the Chicago Bears to get to 41. And as you can see, they also acquired pick 72 and 240, and they gave up their other second round pick at pick 62, as you're seeing on the ticker now. So they gave up 56, 62, and 109. And at first I thought that was a lot, especially trading up for a 3-tech in TJ Sanders. But I think there was some good value, especially when you see that they coupled that by drafting Landon Jackson, because that is some great value. So in terms of TJ Sanders, I really like the player. I think he's explosive. I think he offers a lot, and he does have that versatility. But the main question that I have going into tomorrow is, will they get that big space eater? Because that's been something that I've been clamoring for literally 4 or 5 years. And the Bills just seem to not be as interested in it as I am and a lot of other fans. So maybe by this point, I should just accept the fact that they want these athletic, versatile defensive tackles who can penetrate the gaps. And I think that they're building for teams like Kansas City because they say, we're not going to get beat on the ground. We're going to get beat from Patrick Mahomes, if anything. So we want to get these types of defensive linemen to get after the quarterback. But again, my only problem with that is we've been trying to get over the hump 5 years now, and it hasn't worked. So that's why I have some reservations about the Sanders pick. I like the player. I just don't know if I like the fit for the Bills, considering that they paid Ed Oliver, considering that they signed Larry Ogunjobi, who does have to serve a 6-game suspension. They still have Dwayne Carter, who they drafted in the 3rd round last year. And Daquan Jones is 33, 34 years old, has an expiring contract at the end of the year. I want to build for not only this year, but for the future as well. So that's why I wanted to see that big 1-tech, that stereotypical nose tackle. But again, the fact that they were able to use that trade, they got back their 3rd round pick. So think about that. Not only did they trade up, they also were able to manage to get a 3rd round pick. And that's where they took Landon Jackson, who might be a little bit more of a developmental defensive end. But considering that they have Michael Hoyt and Joey Bosa, they extended Greg Rousseau. They still have AJ Epinesa. And let's not forget about Javon Solomon. I think that this has been a very solid draft for the Bills so far. I think it just comes down to the size for me, because going back to last night with Maxwell Hairston, he has the speed and he has the ball skills, but the biggest knock on him is that he's undersized and he needs to develop a little bit more play strength, specifically in the run game. So I guess time will tell. The Bills still have plenty of ammunition tomorrow, so they can double dip at corner. They can double dip at defensive tackle. They could get another edge rusher. But I think next up on the board for me is a wide receiver. I like Ty Felton and I like Dante Thornton as well. Or excuse me, Dante Thornton. Those are the vertical deep threats that, going over to the offense now, I think that is what this team needs to separate that side of the ball.
Yeah, I really love Thornton. And I think at 132 may not be too big of a reach even. I think that'd be a good pick if they can get there, or if they need to move around. They get the sense that, he may be picked. I really think that during our wide receiver portion of the Triple Coverage podcast, we identified Thornton as a guy who could be that late in the draft threat if they're not going to spend a premium asset to get one of the guys like Matthew Golden at the front end of the draft. So really like Thornton. I understand his limitations and being more of just that straight line guy, but that's what development's for. And the guys here in Buffalo are really good at developing players, in my opinion. So I definitely think that we can bring guys in that may not have shown, and Kevin and I talked about this earlier, guys may not have shown everything the Bills want them to do in college, in their college tape, but they see the traits that these guys have as a fit to where these guys can do some of the things the Bills are going to ask them to do in their schemes. So Thornton would be one of those guys that fits that mold for me as well. Look, Landon Jackson's a big dude, 6'7". But
I was going to say, just to add to that real quick. So Dante Thornton scored a 9.85 RAS, which ranked 59th out of over 3,800 wide receivers that have been ranked since 1987. So this guy's 6'5", and he's over 200 pounds. So he has a great frame to him, because Brandon Beane said last year, and well, he said this year about last year, I think, because reading between the lines, that's why they didn't take Xavier Worthy, because he said they want football players. So if you get someone like Thornton who has that frame, his 40 time was a 4.3. So that is like a freakish athlete right there. And he led the nation with a yards per catch of 25.4. So I think that could definitely be on the table for the Bills. And I'll just list a couple of other prospects who we can potentially look forward to before we get to Anthony and Izzy real quick. So Tommy Hill, I think he could be a developmental corner. I think he has that explosiveness and some traits. He's excellent in zone. Devin Neal, backup running back. Well, he's been a starting running back, a great running back for Kansas, but he would come in as a backup just in case the James Cook situation gets a little murky. And if you do want that one tech, I like Cam Jackson and Nazir Stackhouse and maybe Jay Toya if he's available. And Sean Dolak. Got to put that in. Sean Dolak, come back home to Buffalo.
Undrafted.
Dolak out 240 for Kevin. So, yeah, love it. Again, still really good players seemingly on the board at this time. They're going to come off.
Don't want Shedeur.
What's that?
The Steelers also don't want Shedeur.
Yeah,
still no pick. Yeah, that was going to be one of the things I said.
I thought he was going right there. Nope. Like, nope. He got him to third. How crazy is that? Nope.
I know that people are going to complain about it, but I think the NFL owners are and GMs and things like that are sending a strong message to folks who think that they're entitled, to be quite honest. And I don't mean to be negative on anyone, but there is a sense of entitlement with the Sanders family, and this hopefully will allow them to eat a little slice of humble pie and
be humble.
It's okay to be confident in yourself, but I think that that goes above and beyond. And I mean, that's what Prime was always all about. That's what his style's been his whole life, and it was successful for him. But now, not working out so well for the kin folk. I guess Izzy and Anthony, whichever one of you, maybe you guys can rock, paper, scissors, shoot to see who goes next. But Anthony, go ahead and just kind of give us a breakdown of any thoughts of overall. I think you kind of gave the thoughts of the
Yeah,
first 3 rounds
I mean,
already. If you want to
obviously,
summarize and then give, for the rest of the draft, maybe a name or two at least to watch out for.
I'm 100%. I'm 100% happy with the draft because every position was the position I wanted, which I think is a first in 8 years on the hoof of guessing and thinking about who I would pick at the position. Not necessarily the guys. I like the last one, Landon Jackson, but the positions 100% on point for me, and that's what mattered the most. I'm glad they got their guy at cornerback and defensive tackle. I'm happy with the picks, even though they weren't the guy that I necessarily would have picked in that position. But again, the Landon Jackson pick, all of those guys raised the ceiling for me, which is what I'm looking for in the draft, right? I'm not expecting any one guy to come in and be the superstar that changes everything for the Buffalo Bills. No, at this point, when you're a good team picking where you're picking, you have to know that you are pecking away at it. You're just looking at your roster saying, how do I get better? And I think that sneakily with the trade that Brandon Beane did today, that he's trading down in that 7th round pick he picked up, he's probably going to draft a punter in the 7th round. I'm really feeling like tomorrow that's going to be the case. We're going to take a punter, and it's another position where you think about, where is this roster? Who can improve? That is another weak position where we're like, man, okay, we can definitely improve there. We don't know what's going to come here. So I fully expect that Brandon Beane's going to address that now, whereas coming into this draft, I wasn't as certain. And you have the ability to, as Kevin was saying too, I 100% agree, double down where you want to. I think defensive tackle is one where, yeah, if you get a big body dude who is just a fill-in guy now, great. That's exactly what we need. We don't need a starter, everyday type guy. If you get a developmental corner who can play special teams, because again, thinking about this team, what did we lose? We lost a lot of the special teams contributors, a Matt Collins, for example, not there. So where are you getting those snaps from on this roster? Wide receiver is the other one that I think now you have the freedom to address, right? And I was going back to my initial list that I had for the Bills of different guys at the positions. Again, cornerback, edge, defensive tackle, all addressed. Now it's wide receiver. Ty Felton, Torrey Horton were on my list. Linebacker, Chris Pupal, we all know the Bills were linked to him. And then running back, even Jaden Blue was the guy that they had brought in for an interview. The only
I
running
really
back
love
that
that
I know
kid.
that was
The
connected.
explosiveness
Yeah.
on Blue,
So now there's some flexibility there where any one of those guys, you have the picks to be able to go up and get them where you think they're going to go, or you can sit and just say, okay, we need defensive tackle again. We're going to pick a big bodied guy who can complement now because we only need one skill set out of them, or a high upside guy. When we picked Christian Benford, there's not a single one of us who said, wow, that guy's going to be a superstar in 4 years. But
You
look
don't
at
know
where
what
we
I
are,
said.
right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I didn't hear a damn soul say that guy is a superstar NFL top caliber cornerback in a few years, right? And here we are, right? So I think that I love that we can have that flexibility and take things for what they are on day 3 at this point. And no, I don't think there's a pick tomorrow we could make that I would raise an eyebrow at and be like, what the heck are we doing? And, even if we end up with a Kyle McCord as a backup quarterback, I would be happy with that. But much, much, much less likely on that front for sure.
Yeah. Look, Deion Walker is 6'6", 345, and can get him in the 5th round, man. So like,
Yeah,
Yes.
you don't like him, huh? Izzy's
Even
not
4th
about
round.
No, he's top heavy, man. He's got no ass and no legs, and he's top heavy, and these offensive linemen get underneath him really easily, and he doesn't produce because of that.
I'm just saying, if you want the big guy, I'm just saying there's other examples of plenty of guys
Farmer.
out there. You have Farmer, you have Cam
I
Jackson.
love Farmer
I
too.
think
He was on my list.
the guy that Kevin mentioned earlier, Cameron Jackson. I like the kid from Mississippi, who's 6'2", 325. JJ. Yeah, you knew his name yesterday too, and I couldn't figure out how to pronounce it, but here we are. Someone just brought up Ty Robinson too from Nebraska, 6'6", 310. So again, Jordan Phillips is still there, dude at 6'3", 320. So look, I'm not giving up hope on the one tech. I don't necessarily
Yeah.
think they need to take it with their next pick. I think maybe a
Flexible.
receiver or a skill player, is better off. But they have flexibility to move around, I guess, in the next in the 4th and 5th round. I think they can bounce around. They have 4 picks total between the 4th and 5th round, 3 all clustered together there in the 5th. I think they can maybe break up and try to get around, maybe higher into the front end of the 4th round tomorrow and make
Yeah.
some moves there. But Izzy, go ahead, brother, and give us a little bit of the summary on what you think of the first 3, and then what your feelings are for the next remaining 4 rounds.
So for the next, I'll do the defensive tackle double dip because I know Kevin's really stressing that a little bit, and I am too a little bit. I like a nice big fat bastard who can clog the middle. That's just how I feel about it. You want to have a guy who can do that. And we don't have a guy who can do that outside of Daquan Jones. You need that big fat bastard who just doesn't care. He's got his lunch pail and he'll smash you in the freaking head with it. And to me, we can wait till like the late 5th round, and a guy like Nazir Stackhouse from Georgia's there.
Ooh,
He's
that name.
he's 327 pounds, big man, and it gives you a guy from Georgia, one of the big schools that you'd be like, "Oh, Brandon Bean doesn't pick guys from these schools." Well, there you go, you got one from that school. But I really like that the Bills, like all of you already said, have addressed the positions that we wanted. Before we picked Hairston, when we came on board, as soon as we came on the board and they said the Bills are up, I told Anthony and I told A-Rich, I got a feeling we're taking Hairston. I got a feeling it's going to be Hairston. I don't know what it is, but my favorite guy here would be Amos, but I got a feeling it's going to be Hairston. And it was Hairston. I was correct in my feeling, but I threw a whole bunch of other players out there. I even joked about Sean McDermott's guy, Jihad Campbell. And it was still clear to me that it was going to be Maxwell Hairston. And I'm happy with the pick. Like, I'm not upset with the pick. He was a little undersized, I guess, at corner, but what does that mean at corner? The speed, the recovery speed, the aggression. He did play last year with some injuries to his shoulder, and so that could have taken, some of the whole tackling, Joneses that he had going on. Where people say he's not a great tackler or a willing tackler. Apparently, he is a very willing tackler. He just was dealing with some injuries, so hopefully that's true. And they said that he's bulked up about 10 pounds, and my man John Roberts said it 10 times in the comments. And we saw it, John. We saw what you said. We still love you. We're just, we're too busy to really interact with you guys too much right now. But we have the Resident Report on Sunday. I will be reporting on the draft. I'm happy with the Hairston pick. Amos was my favorite at the time. But I'm not mad at the Hairston pick. He's very good in zone, and that's what we predominantly do. He can also man cover, but I don't recommend you press man cover him.
The biggest disappointment for me as to why Amos would have been cool, I saw 26 Shirts was out there, Del Reed and the folks talking about a famous Amos design, and I kind of was excited for that sort of
that's exciting.
A design from 26 Shirts, but we're not going to be getting that. So that was my biggest disappointment, really, with not getting Trey Amos in Buffalo. But I thought, and I said this on Triple Coverage Podcast, and I'm going to have to go back and I will find it, where I said Maxwell Hairston was the best fit at corner for the Bills at that spot. And that's what they ended up. So I'm very
well. You were the one who brought it up in our conversation yesterday too, right? In the comparison of Amos to Hairston, and there you go. It was now we get a Mad Max shirt though, right? I mean that's
right.
Got to be.
It's funny because I'm into dirt track racing, and there's a race car driver named Mad Max McLaughlin there. So shout out to now I know 2 Mad Maxes. Not that I know Hairston personally, but it's kind of funny.
But since we're talking about the draft, right, and how it's been going, the defensive tackle, I'm good with. He can bulk up. That's kind of a thing, though, why I would like to see Farmer or something like that later on. Also, Landon Jackson, damn good pick at the that's a robbery right there. He should have been gone in the 2nd round. Some people had 1st round grades on him. We get him in the 3rd. Robbery. And then going forward, it's kind of a do whatever you want at this point. We got our needs early, and we got quality players out of this draft at our need positions. And I think that wide receiver could be next, but I don't know if it's guaranteed. And you got guys, if you want to replace a Mac Hollins, who was a big body, 6'3" wide receiver, if if the goal is to replace Mac Hollins with a nice special team guy, someone like Savion Williams, 6'4", 222 pounds from TCU, is another guy you could go after in the 5th round, and maybe he gives you some upside on offense. Maybe he's strictly a special teamer, but he's a guy that you can bring in who would, give you that Mac Hollins feel, big boy, who I'm sure that they can coach up to do well on special teams. But Jalen Royals is still on the board now. I wouldn't be surprised if Brandon Beane uses some of that trade-up power to go get him. But I'm very, very content with what we've got, and I'm very content with the coaches that we have to be able to coach these guys up. I know Kevin wanted to say something, so Kevin.
Yeah, I was going to say, so one more thing about Landon Jackson. He put on more than 40 pounds at Arkansas. So this guy is a freak right now, considering that he's 6'6", 264 pounds. He has this devastating length, is how they describe him. He's got long arms, big hands, and I'm reading another one of his profiles right here, and they're saying devastating length and power at the point of attack, consistently drives back tight ends and creates immediate displacement against the run. So that's great, considering that he can defend the pass and the run. He shows advanced hand technique and pass rush. And what was the other one? High football IQ shows up in run fits and relentless motor from snap to whistle. So again, this guy might be a little bit more of a developmental piece. You look at his box score stats, and his first year at LSU, 5 games as a freshman, no sacks. Transfers to Arkansas, he had 3 sacks in 13 games. Then in 2023 and 2024, he had 6.5 sacks. So for his college career, he has 16 sacks. So you might look at that and say, that's really not a lot. But then you look at that size and the length and the upside, and that's why we're saying that this is just a complete steal, highway robbery coming in the 3rd round at pick number 72.
Yeah, I agree.
Apparently,
very good value.
Apparently, when he met with the media, he said that Buffalo loved his size and believes he has a motor that is unmatched. So that fits that description nicely. And as a note, he trained with Maxwell Harrison in the pre-draft process. So now he's got a teammate that he has already gotten to know pretty well as they both prepped for this night. Really,
I'll say Landon Jackson's a scary dude. Like, he's like, watching the development from early on to now, and just the motor, like being on that offensive line, knowing that this guy's not going to stop trying until they blow the whistle, that to me screams NFL talent. And the point that Kevin made, that he is a guy who's going to be developmental probably. He's going to have to develop some. He's a 3rd-round pick. We expect that out of 3rd-round picks. We don't expect him to go out there to start year 1. We expect him to go out there and be a sponge. You have Joey Bosa out there. You've got Greg Rousseau out there. You've got Michael Hoyt out there. You've got Ed Oliver, who has played with some really good pass rushers like Von Miller. You've got these guys who've been able to take from older veterans, and now they're going to be able to unload some of that information and some of that data on someone like Landon Jackson, who can really play nasty, but is really, really clean and a high character guy. I like that pick a lot. I really did like Princely Ewan Malin from
I liked him as well. I mocked him a few times to the Bills.
He's a little smaller, though. He's like 245, 250, but really bendy. The Bills, generally speaking, like undersized defensive tackles and oversized defensive ends. Let's be real here. Rousseau's 6'6", 280 pounds.
That's a good way to describe it.
Like they like their offensive line to be pretty uniform across the board. And they do like guys who can play from the outside to go in, like Smoot last year.
True.
They like their guys who can, on passing downs, if the defensive tackle is not necessary, it's 3rd and 17. You don't need Daquan Jones out there. You need Greg Rousseau. You need Ed Oliver. You need AJ Epinesa. You need Dwan Smoot. Like, you need guys who can get after it. But on 3rd and 2, you still need your big fat bastard to clog the middle, and that's what we're looking for, right?
Yes,
We have Daquan Jones right now as that guy.
Yeah, he's the one guy who can do that, and we need another one because Daquan is getting up there. Granted, we see defensive tackles all the time play into their upper 30s, sometimes 40s. I mean, old boy just went to the freaking Cardinals from the Dolphins. He's so old, I don't remember his name right now, but
yeah, and you can get those guys in free agent. They're still free agent vet minimums.
100%.
There's going to be guys at UDFAs that they bring in that can fit
Lance
that.
Campbell.
Like, again, you don't have to necessarily spend premium assets on that one technique guy. And there really wasn't, I don't think there was, um, well, I mean, I guess there definitely wasn't in reach of the Bills any sort of impact one tech guy that you had to jump up and down to try to get in this draft. I don't think there was a guy
Mhm.
there that really fit that. So I'm happy that they got TJ Sanders, they got Landon Jackson, and then obviously Hairston was a guy that I had my eye on through the draft process. So a really good 3-round draft. Looking at guys like Jonas Sanker or Malachi Moore at safety later in this draft. I
Xavier
really
what?
like that Thornton guy from Tennessee that Kevin mentioned. I really like him at wide receiver as a guy that can burn. Tez Johnson and Isaiah Bond still out there, although Bond has some issues there. Don't know if Royals will be on the board for the Bills, but another wide receiver to, look at. Definitely looking for a guy like Jaden Blue. I
Yeah.
think he'd be
Yeah.
a really good fit here um, in this, but you can also, try your luck with Jordan James or LaQuinn Allen out of Syracuse. Got to mention our Syracuse guys at
Woo,
least
woo,
here a little bit.
woo, woo.
Um,
Look,
you know,
Queen.
it's so funny that just no mention of offensive line at all. And people were talking in the comments earlier about if we needed it, and just really well stacked there. And I'd be surprised if
Yes.
we took
Yeah.
anybody. But I could see another defensive back of some whether it's Kobe Bryant, that sort of thing,
Kobe.
for the Bills. Um, we'll see what they think of that, but maybe they're done at corner now. I agree that if a guy like Jordan Phillips, or we talked about the defensive tackle spot where we can get that guy still. Um, Linebackers, I don't know a lot about the guys remaining other
No
than
problem.
Dolac seems like a good fit to bring in. Chris Paul Jr. probably not going to be on the board, and I haven't really done a ton of work on the other remaining linebackers, so I'm just not going to speak on them without having the real knowledge there. So the real question is though, any sort of real ability or want or need from you guys to maybe take a kicker or a punter in this draft? Do you think there's a possibility for the Bills here? They've got that 240 pick. Do you think that
Mhm.
one of those
Mhm.
picks are spent on maybe
Yeah.
either a kicker or a punter?
Yeah, I definitely said that, and think that 240 there that they picked up was that kind of, this is the one at the tail end we're going to keep just to draft a punter, and get our guy, right? That way you don't have to worry about, is he going to sign with us in, as an unrestricted free agent? But no, you're the best punter there, and we want you to come to Buffalo and compete, right? And then you don't even have to promise him the job. He just has to compete, right? So um
Yo.
I like the chances of that for sure, for sure. And I was going to mention too, Izzy, you talked about a wide receiver in the 5th round. That round is a little magical for the Buffalo Bills. That's when we got Khalil Shakir, right? And I remember when we drafted Shakir that it was one of those things where everybody, the media in general, that
Mhm.
that ESPN and everybody else was like, how did the Bills get this guy in the 3rd round or in the 5th round? How did the NFL let the Bills get this kid in the 5th round, right? They thought he was a 3rd rounder. And I still think that could be the case here where in this draft there are guys who are falling who many mocked to the 3rd round that the Bills could end up picking up and be the next, maybe not quite as impactful as Khalil Shakir has been for Buffalo, because that's not a bar
But
I'd set
maybe.
for anybody, but still just as a contributor who ends up coming in and playing, their butts off and being a guy who really fits the mold, speaks to what this team does best. And the other point I wanted to make too was that culture matters, right? And when you talk about grooming and bringing in players, even like a Landon Jackson who can learn from the vets on this team or the guys who have played with other guys in the past, that is a culture aspect that you cannot underwrite, right? Like they will come in, they will fit in, they will make, become part of the family really, and they're going to learn under Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane, right? And this team, because that's what these guys do.
Yeah, I'd really
No,
like for the Bills, honestly, now that I'm looking at this board, that kid from Stanford's still there, and I think he's pretty damn good. I'm not sure what the reason is But you know, one of those guys that says that he's going to be a prototypical X receiver in this league, and it's like I would really love the Bills to try to get up into the beginning of the 4th round, or if he falls, I don't think he's falling to 132, but he could if they land him in the 4th. That's a really good value there. I mean, he's the 35th overall rated player here on PFS board at least, and just one above Xavier Watts, who's still on the board, and then Shadur Sanders. Those are the top 3 remaining on the board.
Interesting.
I wonder, you know, it's everything I've read and what I've seen from him. Again, saw Stanford play a few times. One of them was, you know, locked in the Syracuse game when he dominated him. Guy that gets separation. He's big, physical. They say he can get off the ball, off the line, and release in every which way. So, you know, that seems like if the Bills said they're done for the night, but if he slips into the 4th, that'd be a really cool steal to get in the 4th, I think.
You know that punter from Alabama, James Barnett, is 6'6", 235 pounds.
Yeah, I was just looking at all their stats.
That's a huge dude, man. Where's he going?
Punter, dude. Hey, can you play tight end, bro? I don't know.
He just falls forward with the ball.
Your punter's your 3rd down back. He's your punter becomes your freaking tush push guy.
Yeah, right.
Josh, we're not doing it anymore, bro. Sit your ass down. Shut up.
Give him the ball. Yeah, that's funny.
Big as hell for no reason at all.
That's great.
Man.
But who's the?
All right, guys. Unless you guys have anything else, I think we're gonna kind of wrap this up here. Appreciate everyone for watching here. Over almost 1,000 people between X, YouTube, and Facebook. Guys, if you're on X, please come over to YouTube and subscribe to that YouTube channel for us. I would love to have your subscription there. Let us know when click the notification there icon so you know when we're live there on YouTube, and you know, get us up in the algorithm there on YouTube. Definitely could use a little hand on the YouTube channel. Kev, go ahead.
I have one more name for you. I forgot to mention him a few minutes ago. Brashard Smith, running back from SMU.
Ooh.
I stumbled upon him.
Yes. Yes.
Is he like him?
196 pounds, 5'10". Dude is James Cook, like to a T.
Wow. Okay.
Measurables. Yes. 4.4 speed. Yeah. That's
his 40 time. Yeah, his 40 time was a 4.38, I believe. So he is blazing fast. He has that elusiveness. So if you're looking for a day 3 running back tomorrow, Brashard Smith or Devin Neal between SMU and Kansas, those could be 2 names to watch for. And again, just to reiterate, we're pretty much all high on Dante Thornton, right?
Yeah.
So
Higher
Dante Thornton, Tommy Hill, the corner from Nebraska. And then if we want a big space eater for a classic, stereotypical, prototypical one tech, give me Cam Jackson, Nazir Stackhouse, or Jay Toya. And then again, bring Sean Dolak back home.
Yep. Josh Farmer still on the board.
Keep him home, I should say.
So
keep him here. Keep Dolak a secret.
Yes, exactly. I mean, you have to imagine if he makes it undrafted that he would choose to.
Somebody give him my shank. Somebody snitching. But no, I've been talking about Brashard Smith for like 3 shows about a month ago. He was my guy. I was like, look, if James Cook's going to go, this guy can't block either. All right.
Yeah.
he's going to be in the 5th round. He's got 4.4 speed. He can catch the ball. He played at the University of Miami. He's the exact same size as Cook at 5'10", 195, 196.
And he doesn't block either.
He can't block either. So, you know, you don't have to worry about him coming in as a 2nd round pick. I'm a 2nd round pick, and I had 2,000-yard seasons, and I put up 18 touchdowns this year. Yeah, but you can't fucking block. So,
you're playing behind a great offensive line. So,
yeah, the second best.
Just do your job. Just do your
job.
NFL
right now, yeah. The only offensive line better than the Bills this past year, in my opinion, was the Eagles. I mean, I don't know if anybody here contests that. Maybe they were 3rd behind somebody else. I know Kevin does a lot of research on analytics and stuff, so he'd be the guy I would trust to throw a wrench in that. But as of right now, I'm saying Bills' 2nd best offensive line last year. And you managed 1,000 yards, James Cook. I know it was only like 45% of the carries, but you know, we had to let you carry it in week 18 when we did not need you to touch the ball at all. But we got you 1,000.
Well,
So,
getting where
yeah.
we've gotten to at this point in the draft, it's looking like James Cook to me is going to play out this year, and then thank you for your service. So we'll see. We'll see.
Absolutely. Yeah. All good stuff, guys. Again, really appreciate everyone watching. Really appreciate Kevin spearheading this effort tonight, and Anthony and Izzy for joining us here for the third round. It was a lot of fun. A very interesting trade at the beginning there with the Bills trading up with the Bears again, and then getting that third round pick. So still made 2 picks tonight as they were originally slated to, and now we have Landon Jackson and TJ Sanders here to add to Maxwell Hairston in this 2025 draft class. Please keep following Built in Buffalo on all of our social medias. Like and share and subscribe to Built in Buffalo. Like I say, if you're on X, come on over to YouTube for us. Subscribe to that YouTube channel and help us grow that channel. That's the one area where we're looking to grow this year and try to really be able to grow our presence on YouTube. So any help with that is greatly appreciated. And like and share, hit that notification button so you know when we're live there. And with that said, guys, we're on to day 3 of the NFL draft tomorrow, rounds 4 through 7, and go Bills.
Go Bills, baby.
Go Bills.
Bills.
Kevin